Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing fantastically well. It's Conor here. We are back with another one Leeds video. I think I'm streaming on several things here. Hold on a second. Is that better? I think this is echo cancelling. Listen, I'm going to have to get the boys in now. I think we're delaying a little bit, but yeah, here we go. One of you guys going to have to take over. Is my laptop playing through the screen?
No.
Is it not?
No.
Oh, right. That was
See,
just.
and
That was
I get all the
incredibly
flack. I
awkward.
get all the flack. I get all the
Mate,
grief.
it's carnage.
All the flack.
I literally can hit. I can hear myself back, mate. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, you guys just go through it. Someone's gonna have to lead this show whilst I'm churning this out. But yeah, I hope you're all doing fantastically well. Anyway, we're back here with another debrief episode. Sorry for no content over the weekend. It was a bit chaotic from my end. But listen, we're back here with some more Leeds United chat. Brownie, Gabe, how we doing, lads?
Well, Brownie's doing great. Frozen again.
Oh,
And that
frozen again?
ponderous expression. Yeah,
I think
just pondering over the weekend's events. Yeah, there he is.
Dave Brown might have to come in on his phone.
Yeah, Brownie, you've frozen up a bunch. I think it's time for the mobile phone, pal.
Oh dear. So anyway, mate, what's going on? What are your thoughts? I mean, how are you doing? First of all, after the result, are you happy with it? Decent result?
Yeah, it's hard to be happy. We have the fewest wins in the division, and that remains the same. Microcosm, I mean, we played a really good Brighton team. We played them at home, mind you. I think that we were lucky to come away with a point, honestly. There were some things I liked about the match and some things I didn't particularly care for. I'm sure we'll get into it. There were some, I think, slivers of optimism. The question is going to be, as it is every time we see positive things in a match, is will we build on it? Because that's something we've failed to do sort of time and time again. I liked our approach. I thought the manager did well to set us up in a mid-block and not chase shadows around. I know that some of the fans weren't particularly happy with the lack of high pressing, but I thought that was right. I thought that was the game plan to employ for this team against that competition. And I have a lot of questions, but overall, I think it's an acceptable result provided we pick up points other places. And this is, I think, the issue I have is when we're in a match against a team like Brighton and we have a potential to steal 3 points. Ellen Road didn't feel like a steal when we were pulling 3 points away from teams like Brighton in the past. So it has, of course, the last couple of years. So I suppose maybe just that one season. But I don't know. We're sort of running out of matches here. So it's hard for me to say I'm happy with just a point, but I'm pleased we didn't lose. And I'm pleased that we played well in some areas in the park that I'm sure we'll talk about later. So I wouldn't say I'm happy, but I'm not too broken up about it. We have to win against Wolves. I've been saying that for 3 weeks now. So that changes nothing for me.
Yeah, I think me and you've spoken about it for a while, haven't we, in terms of results. And I think that's the thing with the Brighton game, right? It was a good result. It was a good result in isolation. I think the big issue with it is the fact that just Leeds wins at the minute, and it does feel at the minute game that teams in and around are turning corners. When you look at Bournemouth, when you look at Southampton, it's becoming slightly unnerving now, isn't it? That teams around us, we're not seeing any good real. And Brighton at Bournemouth turned it around. I mean, they got a win away at Wolves, nearly beat Arsenal, and then also they got a result, didn't they? As well at the weekend against Liverpool. Southampton seems to be turning it around a little bit, but overall, it just simply needs to pick the victories, don't it?
Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, what, again, 5 points separating 12th and 20th. I mean, that's a really tight league. It means that anybody can pull themselves out of the relegation zone with a couple unexpected results, which is why. Oh, now I'm echoing. Which is why it has to be us. It's why we have to pick whatever cliche you like, grab the bull by the horns or whatever, and we just have to deliver some wins. And we're running out of matches to do it. Right now, again, we sit in terms of wins, bottom of the division with 5. And we're second from bottom in the relegation zone now. So if anything's going to happen, it has to start at Wolves,
Yeah, Chronicles has said, Conor, most important question for today's podcast: do you think the club will reduce ticket prices in the Championship next season? What a segue to Mr. Brown, who's going there week in, week out. What are your thoughts, mate? Do you think it was a good result of the weekend? I think we were talking about it beforehand in terms of how Leeds should approach the game. Are you sort of reasonably happy with how Gracia approached the game? Obviously, I think you wanted a little bit more hell, fire and fury in terms of coming to Ellen Road and Leeds being able to go at them and really dictate play. But I did feel, mate, I don't know about you watching the game, that it was evident that if we went like that and we would press Brighton a little bit higher, they'd probably pick us apart a little bit.
I kind of disagree because
Yeah.
after 25 minutes, they were bringing out the Olays and we couldn't get the ball. I mean, our goal came from Jack Harrison pressing. I think it was a good result. I think the result, the Everton result and the Bournemouth result kind of overshadow the weekend and it make it feel like a bad result. But I think Brighton are top 7. I think it's a good point. I think Mitoma I thought was excellent. I thought McAllister they were a good team. Let's not beat around the bush. I know it's Brighton, but they are a good team. They're well organised, well drilled. I think we scored at a really good time because the crowd were starting to turn a little bit because we were sat off a lot. Look at the equaliser, the second one, the start of the second half. I felt like the start of the second half, we did go after them a little bit. We had some good opportunities. And again, it sounds like a broken record, but with the fight, if that final ball's better, I think we could have created a little bit more. But having said that, they had some good opportunities themselves. I think if Welbeck puts it away at 3-1, I think it's game, set and match. But in whole, I was happy with the point. And that's kind of telling where we are as a football club at the minute, that we're happy with a point at home. But listen, the next 4 or 5 games coming up are massive. Every point at the minute is vital. And if you do look at the teams in and around us, there's nobody gaining more points than us at the minute. Over the last 3 games, we've gained 4. Southampton have gained 4 and West Ham have gained 4. The rest have picked up less. So we are in the thick of it. I think, like I said last week, whichever team puts a couple of wins back to back together, I think they get themselves a bit of breathing space. But on the whole, at the weekend, it was a good point. And I like you say, Conor, we clearly set out to be passive and pick our moments. And I think that's what we'll see between now and the rest of the season. I think that will be our kind of game plan. But yeah, I think we were better when we actually went at them, in my opinion.
Gabe, any thoughts on that?
I think we were fortunate when we went at them a couple times. So, look, all 3 of us said that the senior players needed to step up, right? And on the score sheet, that certainly happened. Get picky and say Bamford benefited from a deflection, but if you don't shoot, you don't score, right? And so I think we have to give him credit for a goal well taken. With Harrison, the frustrating thing about it, we were talking about this in our chat thread. We have Somerville, Aronson, and Harrison, who are so alike in so many ways, except for at least with Somerville and Harrison, essentially sometimes you'll get a moment of magic or, you'll be able to score. Aronson's not bringing that right now at all. It hasn't really all season. So, I mean, it's difficult because for Brownie, you could hear it in the ground that they really wanted a high press. And, when we've done that, we've been opened, quite easily with balls over the top. And we were Ayling's side was getting caught again and again and again with a ball over the top. I just don't trust our ability to not leak loads of goals if we go for broke. And a lot of times we end up chasing shadows and we don't have that quality pass.
On the flip side, if I was playing devil's advocate, we were 1-0 down and they were getting Olayed sitting off.
Right.
We sat off and still conceded 2. So what we're trying to say here, we'd have conceded more if we'd have gone at them. I mean, we scored 2 goals at home.
You're right. You can make the argument either way. You're right.
Yeah,
I guess the point to that is Brighton are just too good.
they're just better than us. You know what I mean? So we can talk about us going forward and being potent in attack. We can talk about us setting up it a certain way, but they're just too good. You know, we had to
Yeah, they are a
essentially
good
score
team, and that's why I
2
think
wonder goals, didn't we? Really?
they've gone to a lot of teams this year and turned them over, and they are where they are, 6th, 7th in the league, whatever it is. They're a good team.
Yeah.
That's why I think it was a good point.
Did this surprise either of you two by how good they were, or did
No.
you sort of expect
Been
it?
good like that all
No,
season. Yeah.
I think they've got some good players. I've watched them quite a bit, obviously on the TV and what have you. And I think Matoma's unbelievable. I think he exposed Ayling far too often, but I think he's done that to a lot of.
What was he like? Obviously, you were at the ground. What was he like to sort of watch? I mean, there's a lot of people saying that he's going to be a top player.
Electric, quick, just very technically good. But the positive thing was, and you touched on it, Gabe, obviously with us having Harrison, Aronson and Somerville, we've got Sinistera now back, we've got Rodrigo back, we've got them options back. That was a major positive for me at the weekend, seeing them players. Bamford scoring a goal, like you say, don't shoot, you don't score. We are now in a position where, touch wood, we don't see another couple of players get injured now, but we're in a position where we can improve that attacking line, which has been a little bit lacking in recent weeks. It's been a little bit toothless. I know we scored 2, but in the games before that, I think we'd scored 1 in the last 5 games. So it is good to see them players come back now. And I mean, Rodrigo's been out for so long and he's still our top scorer. We've got Rodrigo on 10, a second top scorer, Somerville on 4. And it seems a lifetime ago since he scored them 4 goals. Well, it was pre-World Cup. So that was a major positive, seeing them come back. And I'm not all doom and gloom at the minute. I'm really not. We've got some key games coming up. It's the teams outside the relegation zone that are not picking up points. I mean, Forest have won 1 in 7. Leicester, 3 defeats on the spin. I keep hearing all these teams they'll pull away. Well, they're not doing.
Palace only have 6 wins.
They're really not doing. And in the last 3 games, whilst Gracia's been here, we've picked up the most points alongside Southampton out of all the teams in the bottom half. So there are positives there alongside our players that are coming back. Go to Wolves, don't get beat, have an international break, another couple of weeks for the new manager to implement what he wants. And then you've got Palace and Forest back to back at Ellen Road, which it's huge. The good thing is a lot of these teams have got to come to Ellen Road. That's why I'm remaining positive. I think off the top of my head, Leicester, Palace, Forest, they've all got to come to Leeds. So people keep saying we need 5 wins. You've got to pinpoint them as 3 of them. And then you see where you are. The old run-ins, I saw a picture on Twitter today of games left with all the teams and who they had left to play. And it doesn't look too bad for us, but they can be dangerous games when everybody's fighting for their lives. You saw at the weekend with Bournemouth, Liverpool. There's going to be freak results between now and the end of the season. So who's to say that we can't pull one of them out? We've pulled a few of them out ourselves this season, a win at Anfield, a win against Chelsea. So we're more than capable of doing it ourselves. So at the minute, I do remain confident. But I think what you say, Conor, about the atmosphere at the ground, it's a massive point. The Ellen Road crowd over recent years we've been given this attacking, pressing, kamikaze football, and I think it might take a little bit of time to adjust to. It's not going to be like that.
Brownie, question for you. I wanted to, in terms of improvements you saw in this match, one of the things I thought that was good to see was Tyler Adams played well against Brighton. I mean, his pass completion percentage was around 94%. Playing with Rocca, we didn't win the possession battle, but looking at the heat map, every time Brighton tried to go through the center, we hounded them off the ball. Some of their best players, 10 turnovers. So for me, it was good. I had some real questions. I'm not the only one about, well, Tyler Adams has been immense for us in a particular way of playing. How is he going to adapt to this more passive style of play where you're not rewarded for just pressing and quickly moving the ball? Did you feel it was better with Rocca, with Adams this time around? That, like, what was your, especially in person, what was your view of when we did when we were disrupting play and when we did actually have the ball.
It was interesting because and I'm sure I wasn't alone in this, I was surprised to see McKenna on the bench. I really was. I mean, look, listen, the manager can come away and say we didn't get beat, good team selection. I mean, and you couldn't really argue against that. I don't know whether this was because of how we played with Rocker and Adams or whether Brighton were just really good. That first half an hour was tough. I mean, we struggled to get the ball. I don't know if that was because we were sitting off or what. Like I say, the Brighton fans after half an hour were laying, and it could have been a long afternoon. A really good positive for me was we did dig in, we did hang in there, we did show some fight, and we came from behind twice to gain a point. It did feel like a point gained rather than 2 dropped, because sometimes you can come away from with a draw and think, oh, we should have won that game. It didn't really feel like that. Maybe the idea was because we were going to be passive. I think Weston McKennie is more advanced. He likes to break forward a little bit more, and that's been leaving us a little bit exposed, I guess. Maybe that was some of the thinking. So it did come across that way, Gabe, that it was more sit back, sit tight, get through us type of thing, which, I mean, Brighton did have a lot of the ball, but it was a lot of it was in front of us as well. A lot of it weren't damaging us. We were sat in good shape, which, again, you can guess is another good positive. But I do feel that goal from Bamford before half-time was massive, because if we'd have gone in 1-0 down, laying a glove on them, the atmosphere was turning. There's no hiding behind that. It's an expectant crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking about the fan disgruntlement, really, and I think it was when Brighton got the first one, and they were playing well, weren't they? And as you've just said, Brownie, for 35 minutes, it was just, I mean, it felt like Leeds just couldn't get near them, and yeah, I think it can be quite a difficult thing for Leeds fans in particular, because we've been so dominant under Bielsa, really, for what, the best part of 3 years. Not dominant, but 2/3 of it was dominant, really, wasn't it? To sort of, understand a different style of football, but this is where we're at nowadays. And I made the point on my preview that, Conor, you always talk up teams if they're prime Barcelona. Well, compared to us right now, Brighton really are prime Barcelona, and that was why it was such a good point, and that's why I put on the title and the thumbnail, essentially, that it was a good point for Leeds United, because they're a good team. They're a really, really, really good team. To let Leandro Trossard go in January, who's doing so well at this moment in time for Arsenal, and to replace him with Matoma, who they brought in for less than 5 million. Potter deserting and bringing De Zerbi in. Caicedo wanting to move, and him being a little bit upset. They've had a lot of moving parts this season, and they're just a well-run club. And I don't know about you guys, but I almost think maybe the reception at the ground was almost that of frustration, because you're almost looking at Brighton and you're thinking, why can't we be like that? Why can't we get it right off the pitch like that? Why can't we get it right when it comes to a succession plan? Potter to De Zerbi, Bielsa to Marsch. Why can't we do that? And I think that's how, watching the game and watching it back, I don't feel that the boos from the Leeds fans were coming from a place of malice when it came to the team not being good enough. I felt there was just a general frustration by Leeds' position and the whole situation, and Brighton coming in just, their position as a football club just really popping us off, and them looking really, really good. I don't know if you guys sort of felt that as well.
I was irritated by the booing. I mean, obviously, I'll go ahead and say that, fans who pay their hard-earned money can do whatever they want within reason, right? So it's an expression of how people are feeling. They're, of course, entitled to express that. In the beginning, though, Brighton did have the ball. We couldn't get near them, but what were they doing with it? Very little. We stymied. They were essentially passing it in their own half and waiting for us to press so they could release through the center. And Gracia wasn't going to give it to them. So, yeah, I suppose they can pass the ball around back and forth in their own half for a while. But if this had been a home match for Brighton and they'd been playing that way and they weren't able to break us down, their fans would have been a little bit uneasy. It's frustrating to play against a team that sits in the mid block and doesn't bite, especially a team like Leeds that has this reputation for chasing shadows,
Yeah.
And sometimes it's effective, absolutely. But there's so much quality in that Brighton side, and they play so well that when we did bite, the number of times where Aronson would step up or Bamford would step up and we would lose our shape, a lot of times that's what results in us getting released. That and errors. I mean, one of the bullet points I had was, this goes beyond management. I don't care who's managing the team. It could be any one of you guys. If we have players that are, when they're unaccosted, giving the ball up in our own area, which happened a lot, it's going to be very difficult to win matches. That for me was one of the things that just continues to stand out. So I thought we frustrated them. Wait, actually, let me move this window so I can see this comment. Very frustrating. Yeah, fair enough.
Almost envy. It's almost a position of envy.
Yeah, it is.
As fans of Leeds United, it's going to sound so condescending, but should we be envious of Brighton? And if you look at what we've spent, we've probably spent more than them. They've done very good business, Brighton, with what they've sold and what they've brought in, and they're just a well-run club. I mean, you look at the league table; they've got 2 games in hand on Liverpool, and they're only three points behind. They can go 6 with their games in hand,
and they've also battered them twice.
Yeah, so they're having a great season. And listen, the new managers took 4 points from 3 games. If he takes 4 points from every block of 3 games between now and the end of the season, we stay up. So for me, it's not been the worst start. A win against Southampton, a point against Brighton, and a narrow defeat at Chelsea. I think if you'd have offered us that when he got the job, you'd have took it 100%, regardless of other results going like Brighton, Bournemouth, and Everton winning. Regardless of other results, if we'd have been offered that return from them 3 games, I think every fan would have taken it.
I just feel like we need to overperform, Brownie, and I think what concerns me the most is if we don't go away to Wolves and win, I just don't trust our ability to overperform. I just don't trust. Because the table is so tight.
I think I know what you're saying, mate. And I think the thing is that the litmus test for a lot of Leeds United away from home, even against the teams in and around us, hasn't been good. We know, look, right. Brownie's bloody been everywhere. Yeah. So, you look at Everton, you look at Forest, you look at Leicester. All of these games, which were probably at the time were must wins or must not loses, at least, we've gone there and it's 1-0 or 2-0. I mean, we've struggled to score at these grounds. So I think it's massively important because Wolves are doing okay. Wolves are doing okay, but let's not pretend that Wolves are a top side. They're not. They're not. I mean, when I watched them yesterday against a severely low par Newcastle side who were nowhere near it yesterday. And Wolves conjured nothing. And it is one of those where, and Brownie will have been down to Molineux as well, it always feels like when we go down there, it's really tight. It's on a knife edge. And I think this game has to really go for us. It does. And something needs to start changing because, we can all sit here and say, well, this team this team that. But we need to start, really moving ourselves. I think that's something that we can
every
control.
Every team but one is better than us this season. Like the comment of, and it's a good it makes sense. It's a reasonable comment. It's like, oh, Brighton's better than us. It's a good point. There aren't a lot of teams that aren't better than us this season, right? So we ultimately have to start beating teams that are better, or else we're not going to stay in the division.
Well, Brighton, you can. For me, sorry, Brownie. Brighton, you can accept. Yeah. I think we were saying before the game. 1-1, just try not to lose the game. But I think we're all probably going into that, if we're being honest, and thinking this is going to be really, really, really tough. With how De Zerbi's got them playing, the calibre of player they've got, and how we are at the minute. So I think Wolves, you've got to look at that and think, I know what you're saying earlier on, Brownie, 0-0. And
I just think avoid defeat. I think as Leeds fans, we're 19th and we're in a mess. And the league table is not going to be pretty for the next few weeks, whichever way you look at it. We've got to hang in there.
Can't get cut adrift. Can't get cut
adrift. We've got Wolves, the international break, Arsenal away. I mean, difficult. We've got to hang in there until we play Palace and Forest back to back at Ellen Road, and they're games you have to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't trust the mentality of our players and those pressure.
But does it ease? Does it ease the? Well, naturally it does. It's a stupid question, but it does ease the burden on Palace and Forest, even though they are must wins. Even if we get a win at Wolves, but it does ease the burden, and the pressure isn't as intense as it would be on Crystal Palace because we know Arsenal. We know Arsenal's going to be likely a defeat. Arsenal look fantastic at the minute, but you know, if you're able to get a win at Wolves, that changes the whole. And let's be right, an absolute dire straight Leeds last year. I mean, we're terrible still, but that second half, we beat Wolves. We came back from 2-0 down. We've got to be looking at that and thinking we can do it again.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I was at Molineux that night, and that first half was nothing short of diabolical. And
it should have been 5 or 6, shouldn't it?
The sending off, yeah, of course, and the sending off changed the games. And this is why between now and the end of the season, there's going to be so many twists and turns. Nobody saw Bournemouth beating Liverpool coming. Nobody predicted that. There will be freak results out there, and of course, a win at Wolves would be massive. We need every point now is vital, no matter where it comes from. I wouldn't be too disheartened with another point on the board with what's coming around the corner. And let's be right, we're quick to hammer ourselves, but in big games, we have produced. Southampton, huge game at home, we won. Remember going to Brentford last year, huge game, we won. I think the tactics would be different if it was a must-win game. And I mean, going back to your comment about playing Rocker and Adams and sitting in, looking at what the bench was as well, I thought it was a massive tactic to stay in the game, be in the game. And obviously you got Sinisterra, Rodrigo, Rutter, players to come off the bench. And I felt like that was part of the game plan, to be in the game for them to come off. And I do think when we go into them games against Palace and Forest, I think you will see a Rodrigo up to speed. You will see a Sinisterra up to speed. So I think the game plan might be slightly different because they'll be playing from the off. It'd be nice to see Rodrigo start at Wolves. I don't know how close to playing he is, as well as Bamford played. There is an argument for Aronson to come out of the team. There's an argument for Somerville to come out of the team. It could be a completely different Leeds. And listen, the Wolves manager, when he came in, they were rock bottom on 10 points, and he has turned it around for them. But over the last few weeks, they've not exactly been hammering teams. They've took 3 points in the last 3 games. They're not setting the world alight. None of the teams down at the bottom are. None of the teams, ourselves included. But no team's getting cut adrift. It's exciting for the neutral. It's absolutely horrendous for people being in it. But I don't think we're as bad as 3. I don't think we're part. I think there's 3 worse teams in the league. I still think that. I still think we've got enough quality to pick up the results we need. And if Jesse Marsh can get us enough points in 12 games, then me, you, and Gabe can do it. So I'm got full belief in the manager in charge. Now, it was interesting that I saw a tweet that at this point last year when he came in, we were on exactly the same number of points. And here we are again, which is another question about the board that you were talking about. And I've seen comments in the comments section. Why are we in this mess yet again? But here we are. It'd be boring. It wouldn't be Leeds United if it was easy and simple.
Wish it was boring. Wish it was boring for a couple of years.
Out of the situation. So
yeah,
it's. I wouldn't mind going to Molineux next week and stinking the place out and picking up a pot and not getting beat. If you get beat, then Wolves kind of go out of the picture and it's one less team to try and catch. We've got a game in hand on Wolves. Go to Wolves and avoid defeat. Win your game in hand and you where Wolves are. So
guess we've got a game in hand on Everton as well.
Yeah.
Brownie, you are president of the Drawing On Together Society, so I understand your point. I think
since Newcastle, Gabe,
you have said it. You have said it.
Draw our way to survival.
I tried to get Midjourney AI to make a logo that says "Drawing On Together," and it's the most hideous thing in the world. I'll show you some other time. But I think this is the last point I want to make on that. Last year we had players in the squad, or rather a player in the squad, that I think thrived on pressure cooker moments in Rafinha. I don't necessarily want this season to come down, as much as it would be fun for a neutral, to us needing to get a big result against teams that, by the way, will also need the result because of what the table is this season. Last year, there were 3 or 4 teams that were clearly in contention to go down. This season, there are 6, 7, 8 teams that could go down, right? So all those teams are going to be coming to Ellen Road saying, we need to take it to Leeds. We need to get 3 points here because we need to cut ourselves adrift. And this is what makes me nervous. We have a guy like Jack Harrison who scored a belter of a goal, played one of the worst games of football I'd seen up until that point, and then had the nerve. I thought I was not going to say it, but I'm going to do it now. Had the nerve to pose like this, like he was Jack Grealish or something, saying, "Come on, what do you want?" I don't trust the mentality of these players to be able to go in, and maybe I do with a Sinistera, who this is his first season in the Premier League. It's a lot of pressure to put on a guy. Rodrigo, if he can stay healthy, maybe. I mean, he was one of the few players in our entire side that seemed to get better under Jesse Marsch, and everybody, I would say, probably not the case. I have a real concern if we're riding with Patrick Bamford and Jack Harrison. Again, in some ways, they answered our call. I'm terrified about a last 2 weeks. We need results against teams that also need them. That's a scenario I want to avoid.
They both scored at the weekend.
I know. I'll give them credit.
I'm just saying, playing, flipping it.
No, they
round.
did. They did. But Brownie, what I mean is, last couple of games of the season, tell me yes or no. Do you trust those guys to come up with big moments to keep us up? If we have to win a match, are those the guys you think are going to keep us up?
Listen, I'm confident at the minute. If we're in 19th position going into the last 2 games of the season, I won't be confident because our last 4 games are horrendous. By the way, we need points, quick time. I'm not in any disillusion that we're in serious trouble. This is why I believe the few games after the international break, start of April, middle of April, are massive.
But surely we've got to be targeting Wolves then as a win.
I don't know. We've got Leicester, Palace, Forest, and Bournemouth.
So do you think we're almost going to double our win tally in 4 or 5 weeks? I don't want to get too in the weeds on this. That's why I'm playing.
If we don't, we go down. So it kind of is the position where we have to. But if we can't beat Leicester, who have also only won 6 games, Forest, who have won 1 in the last 7, Palace, who haven't had a shot on target for 3 games, and go to Bournemouth and get something. If we can't beat them teams, then we shouldn't be in the Premier League. Let's not beat around the bush. They're games that Leeds United should be winning. And if we can't, then yeah, we go down. But
Lars has said Everton are rushing for safety now, so I think we can stop looking at them. And Everton seem to have just made, and we knew this had happened. I was with an Everton fan at the weekend, and it's so frustrating. Everton just seemed to be the blueprint every single time of just getting out of trouble. 1-0 win against Arsenal. Obviously, they beat Leeds, and then they've just beaten Brentford at the weekend. And it's almost what we need to replicate. It's grinding out these.
This is what I mean, and this is that was their first win since playing us.
Yeah, they didn't play us.
Flying out of contention. They've won 1 in 4.
But they've also got 3 wins. 3 wins and a draw under Dyche, though. It's not bad, is it? You know,
they've won 1 in 4. They've won 1 in 4, and their next 3 games are Chelsea, Tottenham, and Man United. They're not
out of 3 under Dyche. We've had won 5 games all season.
Yeah,
pardon?
They're not.
Well, they've won 3 under Dyche. We've won 5 games all season. Is what I said.
Yeah, because we've had Rowan Atkinson in charge of us for the majority of it. Like our new manager has won 1. Flipping it around, then our new manager's lost 1 game of football.
Yeah. No, I'm not. My point is not that we're destined to go down. I think it's just that when we look at the fixtures we have left, especially given that run of last 4 matches, I think unless we need a miracle, like I'm looking for Wolves to be a watershed moment for us.
I hope it is.
Yeah.
I really hope it is. I mean, we win our game in hand, we go above Everton, do we not?
We will do, yeah.
Yeah.
Better goal difference.
So I'm just saying, like, I just want
to. Brownie, I'm not being facetious here on purpose. I'm just looking at it and thinking.
No, I completely get it, mate.
Because we keep, mate. Honestly, don't we? We keep saying, well, if we get that, when we get that win, it's like we've beaten the team that will bottom of the table, and that's it. At the minute, I'm just, and this isn't a reflection on Brighton, by the way. Because Brighton, in all is a good point in isolation.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at Wolves and thinking, I'm looking at Palace, I'm looking at Forest. Obviously, I'm thinking they've got to be wins, but Wolves for me are not good enough for us not to be targeting a win there.
It's that situation, Conor, where you want Game of Thrones Tywin Lannister to grab us by the back of the neck. Do you remember that scene in Game of Thrones where he says to Jaime, I need you to be the man now, not tomorrow, not like we need that. That's why Jack and Patrick frustrate me because they did score.
Oh, they frustrate me, mate. They frustrate me. Frustrate me massively.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I need that. I need these guys to continue. Like I need that to happen at Wolves. I need it not to be just a deflection goal. I need it not to be after an own goal where just use your right foot and hoof it out. Like play like a Premier League footballer instead of a low end championship side player who's able to conjure one moment of magic. Because they come too far between.
I just don't. I think I get why people are doing it because we care and we are in a worrying situation and we are scared about what may happen. But we're talking about these other clubs like they're all top four. They're just as bad.
No, they are.
They're just as bad because they've got the same amount of points as us. It's not like we've played 10 games this season. We've played 26 games of football. And people keep going, oh, West Ham are too good. Leicester have got some good players. Yeah, they have, but they've got the same points as we have.
Do you think it's just concerning fans at the minute? Probably that other teams are picking up wins a little bit more regularly. Do you think that's probably what it is at the minute? Because obviously Southampton have turned a little bit, Bournemouth have turned, Everton have turned. I know what you're saying, Brownie, about 1 in 4, but they have won 3 under Dyche. It feels like Leeds need to start winning games of football, you know?
Just before you carry on with that, since Gracia took over, no team in that bottom 9 has taken more points than Leeds. That's fact. Over the last 3 games, no team has taken more points.
Is that right?
That's correct.
We've got a draw, win, and a loss.
Sat down and worked it out myself, mate. That's dedication for you.
Brownie, Southampton have done exactly the same that we've done. We've done a draw, win, and a loss.
Mate, that's not taking more points.
Okay. West Ham, a draw, win, and a loss. Let's see.
He's going through it now.
Everton, a draw, win, and a loss. He's right. He's right.
No team has taken more points than Leeds since Gracia took over in that bottom 9.
But 4 teams are tied with the Leeds with the same amount of points taken. So it's
but the other teams have took less. But Conor's just said other teams are picking up more points. Well, they're not.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Yeah. It feels like other teams are doing better, but they're not.
Well, no, because here's why. Because for most of the season,
if they were, we'd be cut adrift. This is what I'm saying.
But three weeks ago, Brownie, did you think Southampton was gonna? They looked like the only sure bottom team to me.
Who's that?
Southampton. 3 weeks ago, I was like, Southampton are done. They're relegated.
They're still the bottom team.
No, but what I'm saying, they looked like it.
My point.
So, but they're on 6 wins and we're on 5. They're literally like they may be positionally lower than us, but their form is just as good, if not a little bit better, and that's what concerns me. You know,
I guess it's like when we were saying about Everton, wasn't it? When before Dyche came in, it changed a little bit for them. Obviously, they're out the relegation zone now. We were saying, they're done. That's it. But as soon as Dyche has come in, the form has just turned. It's progressively got better, hasn't it? So
we'll reassess Everton after the next 3 games because if they get something out of Chelsea, Tottenham, and Man United.
Yeah.
Then I'll hold my hands up and say, well done, Sean Dyche. You've got them out of trouble. So we'll reassess them.
Are any of those at home? Are any of those at home out of interest? Because we know what they're like at home.
Tottenham.
Brownie, I think this is how I would express what I'm actually trying to say. We have not yet done anything I haven't expected us to do, except for lose matches I thought we should win. Some of these teams have done things. Their form may not be better, have pulled results that I didn't expect them to pull. And I think what freaks me out is that if Leeds continue to generate results that we expect them to generate, we'll go down. Whereas other teams have shown that they can pull a rabbit out of the hat.
Did you expect us to get a point at Old Trafford?
No. I don't
so we're doing the same thing. We're pulling results out of our ass sometimes as well. No, I know what you're saying, but and I saw a comment saying everybody's taken 4 points. No, they haven't. Bournemouth have took 3. Leicester have took none. Palace
They
have
took 3
1.
against us.
That's Forest's 3 points is the only win in the last 7 games. That win against us is their only win in the last 7 games, which obviously cost Jesse Marsh's job. They've won 1 in 7 of Forest. They're dropping like an absolute stone, and they're going so under the radar. And this is what I mean. And Connor's right. We need to start turning draws into wins. I will accept that. We draw a lot of football games, and we need to start turning them into wins. I mean, we've won the least in the league. Winning 5 games of football in the middle of March, you should be down already. But for whatever reason, we're still well in the mix.
Can I just pull it back to the game, lads? Instead of talking,
sorry.
Instead of talking general, we can talk general.
Hypothetical abstract conversation.
Yeah. We're talking all hypotheticals, aren't we? This happens here. This might happen there. I just wanted to get you. We'll do this in reverse order as well. I've sent you guys the show notes really, but the first one I guess will be the lineup. So we're kind of going in reverse order. Obviously, it's probably quite surprising that Somerville was starting again. Maybe Jack Harrison raised a few eyebrows. Certainly raised my eyebrow. And then obviously we got Aronson in there as well. It seems to have picked up a little bit under Gracia, but we're probably still seeing the same problems. Overall, we sort of happy with that, or would you have liked to see Willian Yonto in there? Obviously, Gracia was talking about Ruta as well in his post-match presser. It seemed quite encouraging. What were your thoughts, Brownie? Were you a little bit disappointed with how it started, or were you okay with the lineup?
I've still got a question mark over Somerville. For I don't know what it is. Nothing. I would rather see Willian Yonto in the starting lineup. Just about him personally. Of everybody,
it's like playing a game of.
It's just. I think that front three can be changed in the next week. Next week, and it's definitely over international break. I do think that front three can be fiddled around to look a little bit better. I just think Aronson, Somerville, they're just not for me at the minute. Somerville's very young, got time on his hand. He has got an explosive part to his game. Is it more of a coming off the bench type of thing? I personally think so with Somerville. So that would be the only kind of one for me. Yonto in for Somerville at Wolves. Possibly look at some. Seeing how fit Rodrigo is. Rodrigo in for Aronson. I'd love to see Rodrigo and Bamford on the same pitch.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think Aronson and Somerville both flatter to deceive. With Somerville, there's been more end product. I guess we could say that was just a purple patch. But for me, I think that, and I want to be careful to punctuate this because they're young players, right? But I think that a relegation scrap right now where you don't have really time to learn on the job means we should stash these players or down the depth chart. I think especially with Aronson, he's one of these players that does a lot of good things in a match, but it never really seems to come off. I think he needs more time to acclimate to the Premier League. I think he needs to get stronger, and I think it'll come good for us if we stay up. But if Sinisterra's fit, if Rodrigo's fit, I understand. I think the manager's trying to protect Yonto. I think he's had a couple of difficult matches, and I think he's trying to, like, regardless of how good someone's looked, some of these situations. I mean, he's still very early on in his professional career.
I'm not sure I understand that.
What? If he has a couple of really poor matches in a row, that it could shatter his confidence going forward.
I just don't understand when he's the best player, evidently, going forward. Why is he on the bench? What, because teams have doubled up against him? Because, what, is Somerville playing better than him at the minute? He's not. Is Harrison playing better than him at the minute? He's not.
There was a comment from Sharpie, and it hits nail on the head. The team that finished looked more exciting than the team that started.
Yeah.
So when it's fully up to full speed and fit, I think the team that finished at the weekend is the team that probably takes us towards the end of the season. And
Somerville's 20 years old, isn't he?
Yeah, he's young.
And what Nonto's what 19?
19.
So I just I don't really understand at the minute why almost is a little bit of reliance on Somerville to pick up the bird, and then Nonto comes on in spurts. Just over the last couple of games, I don't really understand it, and I think it's hindsight, isn't it? But Raw Genius is after the game.
Clear one of the other comments about I slated Marsh for wanting to see Rodrigo and Bamford together. That was just the 8 minutes at Accrington, which then cost Rodrigo like 6 weeks in the team.
Stand with no roof.
That was a little bit of a niggle for me and 38 other 1,000 Leeds United fans that haven't seen Rodrigo at Elland Road since January. That was my stance on them two together. Them two playing together in a Premier League team, absolutely fine. Playing together at Accrington, 3-0 up, a little bit different.
But I mean, yeah. So would you have? I guess the lineup changes. You'd have maybe looked at starting Nonto. Brownie, you alluded to it. Gabe, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't start Nyanto. I'm saying I understand what I think the manager was trying to do.
Yeah.
I still think he belongs in the side.
Yeah.
As you said, and when you look at the heat map in terms of where most of our attacking joy came from last match, it was entirely down that left-hand side, whether it was Jack Harrison on there, Somerville on a switch, or whoever was going down that side. So, I mean, it's obvious that we don't have a lot of I don't know, Phil, does he?
Phil, I'm not sure about that one, mate. I'm really not my friend.
I don't think Luke Ayling would have agreed with that.
I think, listen, I'm really interested to what everybody says there. Obviously we can discuss that, but I'm really interested to hear what the comment section thinks about that.
That's an interesting topic. Who helps out defensively more, Nonto or Somerville?
It's got to be Nonto.
Nonto, yeah.
Got to be Nonto, surely. I mean, it's not much of a bar, is it, with Somerville? And I think that, I mean, you'll see. I mean, I'm watching the game and it's not just Ayling, it feels like, it's barking at Somerville. It feels like Adams was having a go at him at points as well. I think it almost still seems Nonto's a little bit more mature than Somerville as well, which is kind of why I lean to him as well. It's not just about how good he is. It's also about the maturity on the pitch as well, his discipline. I just think Somerville is so raw. I mean, to be fair, Marsh was saying it, wasn't he? When he was saying almost like, I'm paraphrasing here, but Nonto is essentially a more complete player in all respects. And Somerville needs to learn the things that Nonto's got at his disposal right now. So for me, I think that, listen, Luke Ayling was up against one of the best wingers in the division, let's be honest. But he has to have help. Luke Ayling's 32, 33 years old. He needs help there from his midfield. And that's one thing about Harrison. At least he tracks back. He might boot the ball into his own net, but at least he boots into the other one sometimes as well. But listen, he was, I think he struggles a little bit when it comes to defensive work. And I'm worried about that going forward, to be honest with you, especially with the predicament of us trying to remain solid. I think Luke needs help.
Yeah, definitely. And it is interesting to see what people think regarding them two. Because I think they could both do with a little bit more work going backwards. They're not the most defensive of players, both of them, and I agree Harrison at least does do that. You do see Harrison in defensive areas, and you saw Rafinha do it last year. You'd see him tracking back and getting the ball back and winning the ball back and
taking the throws. He won that competition, didn't he?
Yeah, he was really good at long throws as well. Right wing back was brilliant for him at times.
Do you reckon he'll tell Xavi about that as well? Do you reckon he'll tell him about that at Barcelona? What if they ask you about what you won at Leeds? Well, let me impress you. Obab says Luke Ayling cannot be blaming Somerville for a diag constantly doing him over and over again. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
it wasn't that every time Ayling got beat, it was because of Somerville. I mean, Ayling, got beat a lot. And Alfonso, you're probably right. Again, I think I'd rather see Nonto start on the left, but I think that I'm sure what the manager's doing is saying, okay, it's Nonto or Harrison. He's going to ride with Harrison on the right. Wait, what does it say?
Louis, I think this would send me over. I think the two lads above me will also back this up. This would send me over the edge.
Yeah.
Do you remember back in the day when Sky Sports did the player cam?
Yeah.
Conor, you should do that Harrison cam.
Harrison, you get demonetized. I get kicked off YouTube. Richard's talking about Nonto helping far more than Somerville.
I'd agree. I think he does, which is another confusing
I don't think
element.
it's far more, guys. I mean, look, but yeah, I mean, he offers more than. I mean, the big thing is he offers an outlet, and he can carry the ball without being dispossessed. You know,
maybe it's just that Nonto's a little bit more effective going backwards than what
Yeah.
Somerville is. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you see them tracking back equally, but maybe Nonto's just better at it.
I think we're all in agreement, and by the comments, I don't think anybody would be disappointed if we saw Nonto coming for Somerville at Wolves.
The question is, if you have a fully fit Sinistera, do you? We're dropping Jack for Nonto. You know what I would do, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Nonto and Sinistera on our wings.
I just don't think the manager will do it. I think the manager will look at the ages of the players and the experience of the players and say, I need an experienced pro as a leader on this team out on the pitch to start, and then we can come with youth off the bench. That's what I think he's going to do.
Listen, if Jack Harrison can do that more consistently, not boot the ball into his own net and look at the sky like he always does, but if he can do that more consistently, if he can produce moments like that more consistently, keep him in the team. I'm absolutely fine with that. We just need to see more of it. I mean, once again, let's be honest. And Brownie's quite right when you're looking at the stats. He got an assist. I mean, giving him an assist for that Bamford goal's staggering, but it's an assist at the end of the day. And him scoring a goal, a wonderful goal, and one in the other net. Is consistency, but in a sense, how bad he was during the game, the own goal, the goal and the assist is Jack Harrison in a nutshell, isn't it? It is so inconsistent.
9 giveaways, by the way.
Nine, yeah,
with a 50% pass completion percentage.
50, yeah, which is staggering. So this is what I mean. If he can just up his levels and actually do this more consistently, we'll all want him in the team, but he doesn't do it enough. This is my problem with him.
I think
he's a broken clock.
In the first year in the Premier League, he was in fact, this is another startling fact for you that you probably try and pick apart, Gabe, but it won't work. Goals and assists, there was no other Englishman in the Premier League who produced more goals and assists combined than Jack Harrison in that first year in the Premier League.
It's an indictment on England.
The second year, he scored another. So in the first year, he scored 8 goals. Last year, 8 goals. He's only got 2 this year. I think that's the problem with Harrison. He does give the ball away a lot. He goes into blind alleys a lot, but he always produced goals as well. Whereas this year, we're not quite seeing them goals as frequent.
This is the way I would pick that apart, and this is how I'm gonna mess you up, Brownie. I think that the only reason we saw that from Jack is because your mate Bielsa worked wonders on him. Without Marcelo Bielsa, you're not going to dispute that.
So. I mean, he made.
Why'd you tee him up then? Why have you teed him up now?
You're welcome, Conor. Go on.
Yeah.
No. I genuinely think that's probably true, right? I mean, because he's the most frustrating player I've ever seen.
I agree, and I mean, his predecessor then had Jack Harrison playing centrally, which is going to be running into dead ends. So I'm not surprised that he's only scored 2 goals this season. It's been a weird
world beater against in the first 3 matches this season.
It has been a weird season for Jack Harrison. He was 10 minutes away from signing for Leicester. He's played out of position. I'm not surprised that his numbers have been down, but at the weekend, I mean, he gave it away twice inside first 3 minutes. It just doesn't seem to be, whatever he's doing just doesn't seem to be working. Then he'll put one in the top corner. He must be infuriating for all Leeds fans, because I mean, his first touch is unbelievable. It really is unbelievable.
Then he can't
17 touches after it that people get annoyed by.
Yeah,
you don't get frustrated by
he'll kill the ball from about a mile up in the air, and then he'll balloon it out of play. It is so frustrating. It really is.
You don't get frustrated by players that don't show you flashes. Players who are just consistently dire. You're like, well, they shouldn't be getting in the match, or you know what I mean. And I think that's why, Jack, I've never seen a footballer that has moments. Like if you just looked at that one moment, you would say, "Oh, Jack Harrison probably had a cracking game." It was the other 89 minutes that drove me crazy.
He's just not complete. I don't think he's ever been a complete player. I don't think he's ever reached his potential, and I think he has got a very, very high ceiling. But he's a very confidence-based player, and I think a lot of his game needs improving, Jack Harrison, and I'm not 100% sure he'll ever get to that level where he maybe should get when it comes to potential.
He's 26. This is supposed to be his prime.
Yeah.
He's only going to go downhill in a couple of seasons.
So. But I think we're talking about Newcastle buying him in the summer. That was something that we're looking at. So evidently a lot of teams do think the same thing with Jack, but after this season, I think he's really shot himself in the foot because I think he's been given a lot of trust. Anyway, let's move on. I want to talk about, and I've seen, I think Jay Coyle, who's part of the Patreon, a good, the top lad. Jay supports the channel a lot. I want to touch on Weston McKennie as well. I want to put something to you too. So he's getting a lot of slack at the minute. I sort of backed Rutter as well when this happened, but McKennie wouldn't have been my choice. 100%, it wouldn't have been my choice, and I've made that abundantly clear on here. However, I cannot understand a lot of the flack this guy's getting. I really can't. I know he obviously didn't start the game at the weekend, but I've been not blown away by McKennie, but I certainly don't think he's been in the group of the worst players in this side over the past sort of 3 or 4 games. He's been in the country for 39 days. You look at Cody Gakpo, you look at Sabitzer at Man United, you look at, how many others are there? Mudryk at Chelsea, who's flopping at the minute, Porro at Spurs. There's so many players who've come in very, very recently who have struggled. And I think McKennie actually, when he's been put into this Leeds side, has done okay. I think he's fitting really, really well. I think if he gets a goal to his name, that's going to change everything. It's probably going to change a lot of fan opinion on him. But Brownie, I want to come to you first, mate. Are you sort of not hounding McKennie out as such? That's a bit of a brutal way of putting it. But are you sort of impressed with what you've seen so far from McKennie?
Impressed. I wouldn't say blown away.
No.
Put it this way. I'm glad we did it as a loan and didn't splash 30 million out at the minute.
Yeah.
At the minute. But I do agree that he has only played a handful of games. And I thought in the Fulham game, there's flashes of brilliance and then there'll be something really sloppy. But the thing that's really sloppy will stand out in your mind because it's at such a key moment of the pitch or key place. Like the Southampton game, we broke away and it's just an easy pass to play Aronson in. And it's a sloppy pass. I just think the sloppy things he does are in vital parts of the pitch. I'm not hounding him out. I think he's got an enormous amount of ability. He plays for Juventus. Mug, if you're playing there. He's in the national team. He looked good in the World Cup. I think it's just that settling in period. He's come during a changeover of manager. He signed for Jesse Marsh and he's now with Javi Gracia. There's a lot of elements, but I am firmly in. I want to see more before we pay 30 odd million. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree with him. I think that, not to put too fine a point on it, but I think that there's some recency bias here and there's some scapegoating happening, right? Mm. And I looked at, there's a sports journalist that was rating Jack Harrison on a really popular, Graham Smith, week after week, Jack Harrison 7, Jack Harrison 6, Jack Harrison 7, Weston McKennie 3, Weston McKennie 4, Weston McKennie 3. He clearly doesn't rate the player, and that's fine. But when you're propagating that mentality, it's easy for a fan to just look down and say, "Oh, yeah, if we had a different player than McKennie." I'll tell you right now, if Adam Forshaw was playing in Weston McKennie's position, you would see just how many things Weston McKennie does that don't show up. I think Brownie's analysis is 100% on. Especially the adversity of coming in, it's very difficult to come and get into the side right away. Serie A is slower than the Premier League, much slower. Different style of play, different players around you. McKennie's whole thing at Juventus was to clean up messes, get forward into the box and try to get on the end of a cross, do some shit housing. Oh, sorry, family-friendly channel. Sorry, Conor. And then and play quick passes to some of the more skilled players. Excellent cog in that machine. It's your frailties are going to be exposed if you're playing with Tyler Adams, who is not a prolific passer either. I think the syntax we use often gets exaggerated.
Who can I just say? and this will not get a lot of likes, who's been poor recently for me. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, I don't think he was poor against Brighton, but last 2 matches before, I think you're right. I think, it's just one of those situations where I think there's not a lot of reasons to be happy with the team right now. And I think that it's easy to just blame a new face when week in, week out, we've had players that haven't performed time in and time out. So yeah, I think that it would be weird if we said that Weston McKennie's been turning up trees. He's clearly not done, but he's played pretty well in the short time he's been given. And I think that some of the reactions are a little bit wild. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I'm not really sure why, but I think it's just easy to blame the guy that looks like he's pounding a Big Mac after the game.
Yeah, he does. As he always, and I'm not.
That's his physique. He's a thicker guy. Does he not look fit running up and down the pitch? He looks pretty fit to me, especially in the Man United matches.
I'm just wondering if that was his physique or not.
No, that's his physique.
People say he looks heavy, and he does look.
He looks heavier when he has short hair. When he has the bigger hair, he doesn't look quite as not fit.
How many posters have you got of him, Gabe?
I've not. Can you imagine me at 37 having posters of footballers? That'd be pathetic.
All says, I think both McKennie and Rutter have been using the wrong positions. McKennie needs to have the freedom of being in a 3. Rutter needs to be feeding off Bamford's hold up. I think even Gracia said this, to be fair. Gracia said post-match that people seem to be confused about Rutter's position and he's not a striker, which I found really interesting.
We said this.
Yeah, we did. But we saw even at Hoffenheim when we were seeing the old YouTube compilations that he was cutting in from that touchline and having the strikes on goal from outside the box and dribbling inside the box as well from those touchline positions. So yeah, I mean, no, we didn't ever really see, even in the old YouTube compilations and scouting reports and all this sort of stuff, we didn't see he's a number 9 who holds the ball up and flicks the ball into the back of the net. So another selection dilemma. Interesting that he's not starting. I mean, throwing the old price tag in there is something that we always do in football. Gabe loves to talk about Declan Rice and Jack Grealish, and we can
150 million pound footballers. Those two
that can be saved for another day. But overall, I think Rutter. Is it bothering you a little bit at the minute that he's not starting? I mean, especially as a wide option.
I think I touched on this last week. And even more so that he's now come out and said he's not a forward. This is no indictment against him because obviously he's a talented player and he'll have a fantastic career. If he is not a number 9, which it's clear he isn't, and he was clearly just playing there because Bamford and Rodrigo are injured, which is kind of hanging him out to dry a little bit, but square pegs FC strike again.
Shout out to Victor Orta.
What on earth are we doing spending 35 million on another winger? Can anybody in the comments or anybody on planet Earth please tell me why Leeds spent 35 million on a winger when we've got a striker who virtually plays with one leg and the other one is, do you know what I mean? That virtually leaves us with one number 9 who was also injured. I just don't get it. I don't get it. And this, again, will probably go on to have an unbelievable career and he'll be fantastic and he'll score lots of goals and does good at what he does, but it wasn't what we needed. And I feel like I'm a broken record saying that every season. It's not what we need. I mean, we've been playing with Struijk left back all season, not a left back. We just seem to go out and buy. It's a kind of like a scattergun approach. We'll buy a few players and one of them's going to be good. A bit like Arsenal did it in recent years, up until Arteta came in. They were just buying players for the sake of buying players, but they spent 72 million on Pepe. No need. Man United were doing it. They were just buying players that weren't even needed for what they wanted. Obviously, Ten Hag's done it differently. He's got what he wants, and I just don't get why clubs do it.
Well, I mean, there was an option out there, but Brownie, there's form, isn't there, with the guy who's in charge of recruitment? We know there is. It's Hollywood signings, and a lot of the time have we got another profile who's of Patrick Bamford's attributes? We haven't, and we've never fixed that. How difficult can that be to just get somebody who replicates a lot of Patrick Bamford's attributes and is maybe better? I don't even know why you'd want to
replicate them. There are a lot of number 9s out there that are really, really good. Well, why do we have to template Patrick Bamford?
Well, okay, I guess maybe in the systems that we're playing,
I get what you're saying,
Maybe,
Conor. A number 9 that holds the ball up, brings players into play,
yeah.
backs his body in, and let's not be right, chips in with goals, because when Bamford's play, he does.
And I think that's the key thing as well. It's not Bamford, but fits the almost mold and profile that is Patrick Bamford. Because I think Bamford still is, I know he's been poor, but I still think he is the better linker up of play. I do think as an individual, he holds the ball up well, reasonably well, especially when he's got 3 defenders around him consistently throughout the game. This isn't me back because I think he's been terrible this season, or terrible throughout this, throughout his last really 2 years. I mean, he's barely played, has he? But I just think overall, I think there's a profile there of what Leeds need to go for as a striker, and it's just the same thing over and over again. I mean, it's like a dead horse in it. We've just beaten.
I think you could throw that
Victor
any of the
Orta,
bottom teams.
Mate, Victor Orta is just a guy he seems like quite a sensitive individual who's always trying to prove himself. He's always trying to prove himself, and he wants to get the next shiny thing, when an obvious one would have been to go out. And let's be brutally honest with you, someone's going to throw a stat at me about how dreadful he's been at West Ham, but this is just an example. Someone like Danny Ings, go out, get a proven striker. Danny Ings is on the market. A lot of people might say he's not worth it. Fair enough, whatever. But a player of that ilk, and we've had ample opportunity to do that, but we always just go for the Hollywood option.
I mean, Danny Ings has scored more Premier League goals this season than Patrick Bamford has. So I would love to have had a Danny Ings this season. And that's not me taking shots at Patrick Bamford. It's a +1 to your point. Why don't we just bring in players that can do a job for us and do what we need? When I'm looking at this player, and again,
he scored more goals than Gabe. He scored more goals than Rutter. So
yeah, and Jorginho looks like a nice kid. Looks like there's some potential there.
Yeah,
but
he looks like he'll be a good player in 3 years' time. Which is
and I'm really surprised. That's
needed.
Exactly right. I'm surprised at this, because I'm thinking, all right, we have a lot of wide players, especially if they look at him as a wide player. I was thinking, okay, well, they look at him as a striker who's, just needs to get more physical and put the ball in the back of the net more. There are plenty of them out there. But to look at that, we've got Somerville, we've got Gnonto, we've got Aronson. How many young wingers do we need? Doesn't make any sense.
Gracia is probably reasonably frustrated with it as well.
Yeah, I'm glad he has come out and said that he's not a number 9, because I would have been very worried. I'd have been very worried if that's what we'd have spent £35 million on, because he's not an out number 9. I think he needs someone up there with him, and if we're playing a 4-3-3 system, that's not going to happen. But yeah, I think when you look at the teams in the bottom half as a whole, there's not many strikers in any of the teams that are pulling up any trees.
Do you know what it was, Brownie? I think it was just the fact that we spent what we did.
Yeah,
and you're looking at that in January, and you're thinking to yourself, 30. If someone said to you, in summer, Leeds are going to buy a striker for 35 million euros or pounds, whatever it was, you'd be like, okay, not ideal because it's January, and you'd rather have one in the summer instead. But okay, I'll take that. And to say our striker, who that was the profile it was bought as, doesn't start, and the manager's come out and said he's a winger. It's just not ideal, is it?
No, it's not. And again, I think we've said this the last couple of weeks on the show. It's the situation we were in. We needed something tried and tested and ready to go, not develop the player, nurture him, bring him along for someone else to see the fruits of him, because that's what will happen, just like it has done with Rafinha, and that seems to be the model. They said they were going to use the Leicester model. It does have that feel that we're bringing these players along to then sell for profit, which I get, football's a business, but the situation Leeds United find themselves in at the minute, 35 million needed to be someone that was going to come in and play every game.
Definitely. It's good to see us shooting outside the box, though, wasn't it?
We've been, again, I've said this a lot tonight. We've been saying it. All three have been saying it. We've been feeling like we've been wanting to walk the ball into it. Just shoot. Pull the trigger. And I think it's infuriated a lot of fans. You're just crying out just to shoot. And then that final pass, it's got to be that inch perfect pass that doesn't come off. And then the chance has gone. I hope that just gives them a bit more confidence just to pull the trigger more. Because the last few weeks, our only goal scorer has been Junior Firpo. That can't be right. It can't be right.
Imagine saying that in the summer.
Yeah. I mean, there was a moment I thought McKennie did so well linking up, and then all I wanted him to do was put his foot through the ball and strike it on target, and he just didn't do it. Took an extra touch, and we got this.
He's very shot shy. I've noticed that. He's very shot shy,
Yeah.
McKennie.
What's people? It's complete. It's not on your list, but what's people's thoughts on Pascal Strike not getting back in?
He seemed really poor before his concussion.
Yeah, I think Firpo's. I think Firpo over the last month or so has probably been better than he's ever been.
Yeah,
at Leeds. I mean, it's not a high bar to really get past, but over the last few weeks, I think he's been solid.
Yeah. He's been really.
Where does that leave Strike then? I mean, he's not going to sit around and be on the bench. But I agree with Gabe. I don't think he was amazing before he got the concussion. But again, a player who's been playing out of position all year, so.
He's not going to get in with the center halves. I mean, we were saying this in chat. I think, Conor, it was you that said Vober had a pretty poor game, and he did, but he still looked loads better than, I mean, how many errors have we seen that have led to goals from our center halves earlier in the season? You know, aside from that one really horrific challenge that, was it Welbeck just danced through? I don't remember who was.
God. How'd we miss, by the way?
I have no idea. Rory Jennings said he should be in the World Cup squad. That was an amazing bit of quote there. So aside from that really sticking out, I mean, good center halves have a way of making even poor matches by them generally anonymous, right? So I just don't see. I thought center half was our most woeful position under Marsh. I think that's been shored up, so I don't see him getting back in the team there. And we need somebody who's a natural left back. And Junior Firpo, by just being kind of good over the last 6 matches, I think has made the spot his, and it should. He's the only left back we have really in our pool. It's, so.
Did we think? Do you think it was that Mark says definitely a penalty on Rodrigo?
No, hard for me to say that.
I can see it, but I'd put it this way: if it was given against Leeds, I'd have been absolutely raging.
Right?
Would you?
Yeah, I just thought it was a bit soft. I thought he did touch the ball.
He did, but he's gone. For me, he's connected with Rodrigo before he's connected with the ball.
I'm thinking if that's Grealish or if that's Mark.
Well, they're giving the penalty if it's Grealish.
If it's Grealish, he's getting it nailed on.
But it's Leeds United. We're not going to get that. We're not going to get that call.
I just think if it's given, it's not getting overturned.
Yeah, there's no way it's getting overturned. 100%. I wasn't raging about. I don't know. Like, I feel that's always where you kind of gauge a penalty. Like, if you think it was like were you too furious it wasn't given, or were you kind of just like, meh?
I was disappointed because Tyler Adams made that pass in. I was like, Tyler Adams with a progressive pass, and it was a nice one.
In real time, I thought penalty.
Okay.
And watching it back, nothing's changed my mind. Nothing's changed my mind to think. I don't think you're allowed to take the player out before touching the ball unless that rules. And I know there's been a lot of rule changes, but unless that's changed, then
I think Jimmy's got it bang on here as well. This was the issue as well. Rodrigo didn't even flinch. It was almost like, okay, anyway, we move on. I don't know whether or not VAR even checked it, to be honest with you. And I think you do still have to protest on the field to seemingly get in the referee's ear and VAR's. And if the Leeds aren't doing that, then
that's how pathetic the referees at this level are. This is the best league in the world, and we have referees that truly will blow their whistle or not based on the amount of protesting that happens after a play. It's horrific.
Did you see? I don't know if it was the. Did any of you watch the Arsenal game? Arsenal-Fulham. Fabio Vieira fell over his own feet a yard ahead of the player, and he looked embarrassed. He was like, "Oh bloody hell! I've just fallen over. Like everyone's going to give me the ole." The referee, he turns around and gives him a free kick, and everyone in the pub just started laughing. They just could not believe it. And the officiating at this level.
Manchester United fans are trying to say that Casemiro red card wasn't a red card.
Yeah, of course they are.
They just guess, and Gabe's hit the nail on the head. It's the best league in the world with probably the worst officials. It's scary. I think referees now as well know that there's VAR, so tend to maybe not give something just so VAR could pull up on it.
Yeah. Did you see the
VAR doesn't get it right either. These bring on the AI age, because I'm tired of these VAR
you
people
want your
in the
players
studio.
to protest, and you want your players to surround the referee and get things given, which Arsenal have done this season to a T.
Yeah,
they have hounded everything. But then your players will get, certain players will get booked, certain clubs will get fined, and it's just the consistency of certain clubs having it. I mean, did you see the celebrations after the Arsenal winner against against Bournemouth last week? Scored in the 98th minute. The whole bench was on the pitch, players on the pitch, not a single booking. Nonto got booked for running down the touchline when they scored against Southampton.
He did, yeah.
Do you remember the Brentford match before everything went to hell? How, I mean, Sinisterra got his first yellow card for dissent, right? I mean, I feel like because it's Leeds, and maybe I'm just buying into the conspiracy theory now. But
it's not
I feel
conspiracy, mate. It's not conspiracy.
No, I mean, whenever we protest, it's just we get carded. You know, I don't see managers. I mean,
Sinisterra got sent off. Sinisterra got sent off against Villa for blocking the free kicks, and Sinisterra got sent off at home to Villa this year. How many times have you seen players block free kicks and nothing happened?
Was that not Brentford? What was the Brentford send off for?
I have no idea, but I just remember home to Villa, Sinisterra got sent off just after half time, blocking a free kick for his second yellow.
But there was one at the weekend. Did you see it where there was a header at the back post and an arm kept it off the line? And it's just I don't know which. What was it, Gabe? What game was it?
I don't remember what you're talking about. I don't remember the game, but I don't know exactly what you're talking about. And
Jota. And I'm like, how is that going to VAR? How are you the referee is 5-6 yards behind it? And I'm like, I can see that. Everybody else can see that. Everyone in the ground can probably say, why are you relying? Anyway, we're going on about VAR, aren't we? But yeah.
It just goes back to refing it different, I think. I think they know that VAR's there to back it up. They can let play go on a little bit but every fan VARs are
it's like playing a game of telephone.
Is it? So, I mean, it's better than Is it better than Championship refereeing? I think so. I think it's better than lower league refereeing, which some of it is. I mean, let's not go over that.
Stroud.
There was years of it. Keith Stroud, little poison dwarf.
Bring back Mark Clattenburg.
Nah, mate. Do you not remember Keith Stroud? Gabe? He was horrible, and he loved it as well. He loved it. Anyway, so overall, let's just have a little bit of a summarization on Gracia at the minute. Are we? What's the most positive thing you've seen from him at the minute? Gabe, I'll come to you first.
Oh, sorry.
I'll come to you first then.
I was going to say more points. Simple as that.
Well, what about what you're seeing in terms of? I don't know. Is there something that you like about him? It could be off the pitch. It could be on the pitch. What? Obviously, he's getting points, yeah. But what is the specific thing that you think he's maybe changed a little bit?
I honestly, at this stage of the season, I don't care what I'm watching. It's been woeful all year. It's literally it's that cliche business end of the season, and it is just more points. 4 points out of 3 games. I mean, in Jesse Marsh's last 7 games, he took 3 points. From when he left to Bonfire Night, how long ago does Bonfire Night? He got no win. It's just more points, and we can assess in the summer if he's the man to take us forward. We can have that chat then. He's got 2 weeks international break or 10 days, whatever it is, to implement more ideas. It does seem less chaotic. It does. There seems more structure. I don't know what Gabe thinks, but I just think there seems more of a plan. That's the right way to go. There seems more of a game plan. There seems more of an idea of what we're actually trying to achieve rather than just watching like an under-8s game of football, just swarming around the ball. Because that's what it felt like first part of the season. It felt like an under-8s game of football where the ball was in one part of the pitch and all the players were in that part of the pitch.
Well, you got to go towards the goal, Brownie.
Well, it don't move, does it, mate? It's in the middle of the pitch. Don't
It's
move.
right in the middle. No, listen. So I think I agree with most of those points. I also think that.
Can I
think
just say,
that
I
he's-
loved, I
yeah,
loved,
go on.
I loved it when he was giving that explanation on like the goal not moving, because it was almost like he was educating everybody else in the room. No, but oh yeah, he's in the middle of the pitch. You're right, Jesse.
Just before game starts, just one more last thing. I don't seem to hear from the new manager as much. I don't know if that's because I've just tuned off, but I don't seem to see any daft comments. I don't seem to see any Netflix documentaries being watched. I just don't see any.
Netflix.
I don't see any stupidity. It just doesn't seem in the media as much. If that makes
He's
sense.
a reserved guy. He's a reserved guy. Right. So first thing, I think that he's simplified certain things for the side. I don't think we have this. You don't hear him saying, I don't think the players understand what I'm telling them, which is probably not because Jesse's tactical plan was all that advanced. It's just because they probably couldn't understand what he was yammering on about. I think that obviously I think we're a little bit harder to break down, right? We're not getting hit with the same counter ball over the top every single time, the same switch every single time. I want to caution against over analysis of the first couple of matches, simply because in Jesse's first 3 matches, we picked up 7 points, which was like a third of the points that we picked up. Right. So, and like, I think the narrative now has been that Marsh didn't have a plan. No, Marsh had one plan that worked for a couple of matches, 3 matches, 4 matches, and then stopped working. And he didn't know how to adapt. I see this manager's a lot more tactically flexible. I think my concerns are his lineup selections have done okay. I've played devil's advocate and tried to pick up why I think he's gone with Gnonto on the bench, but I do worry a little bit about that. And I do worry that maybe he is going to ride with some of the more senior players in lieu of some of our more promising attacking talent. But again, so far, so good. I mean, I wish we had gotten him in earlier to have more matches to get acclimated to his team. But by and large, I think that his substitutions have been good, and his in-game management is a vast improvement over Marsh. And yeah, it's nice to not, as an American, it's not nice to have to be embarrassed every other day by something the manager said that I'll get asked about in DMs and say, are all Americans like this? So,
I agree. We don't want to jump in straight away. But didn't Jesse Marsh lose his first 2 games?
No. This season. We're talking about this season.
This season, right? I'm going to say I can remember the Villa game at home, and that was a bleak time.
Yeah, that was an awful night. Literally, it's one of the worst. And listen, we've had some awful nights at Ellen Road, but I was there that night, and that was so bad. That was such a horrific atmosphere.
What Gabe says there, I mean, it's scary that we're still actually in with a chance of staying up. That nearly a third of our points came in August.
I think we've won 1 game in like 21 or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we won 2. We won 2 of our 5 matches in the first 3 weeks of the season.
It's just, we're still not bottom.
The one thing I'm going to say, thank you, goodbye,
thank
Jesse
you, Nathan
Marsh,
Jones.
Oh, well, yeah, thank you, Nathan Jones. But the one thing I have scarcely, as a Leeds United supporter, felt as good as that match when we beat Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea away. Chelsea at home. That was a great feeling. That was about it for great feelings.
Oh yeah, that was. We're making top 6 at that point.
Yeah, we're gonna win this league.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna chuck out the dreaded question.
What's Chris Armas doing?
Who's your 3 teams to go down at this stage? I mean, me and you, Conor, we did some predictions at the start of the season, and I feel like I'm sticking to them. Do you want to change? Are you still?
Do you want to change? Lead me on. Oh God, it's 1,100 people in there, Brownie. You put me on the spot now. Make sure you're liking the video as well, by the way. But
I'm winning it back round. I'm the optimistic one, mate.
You are. As soon as Jesse's gone, that cloud's gone above from your head.
You said it.
I listen. I think you two are going to give us flesh me out some positives, and mine can be changed. I do think. I put it out on Twitter the other day, and I can't remember who I said. Gabe, you go first. I'll find
No. I'm not getting you off the hook here.
Well, all right. Well, you can all wait then awkwardly.
No, I'm just kidding. I'll go. Brownie, here's who I think. I think that Southampton are still going down. I think that Bournemouth are still going down. And I think it's between Crystal Palace, us, and Everton.
Palace won't go down.
Palace has a horrendous run of games coming up.
They've also got 8 of the bottom 9 to play.
They've won only one more match than we have.
They've got 8 of the bottom 9 to play, though. So,
and Everton also have a very, very difficult run of fixtures.
Yeah, they do.
So, I mean, we'll see. But I think it's. I still think Bournemouth and Southampton are going.
I went with us, Forest, and Southampton. That's what I think.
Steve Cooper's being linked with the Tottenham job.
Is he?
They asked him a question. He was like, I'm focused on Forest, as if he was really being considered.
Brownie, you responded to this tweet, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm sticking out. I do think Southampton, Bournemouth, and I do feel that Forest have had their purple patch and they've been sucked. I think they'll get sucked back into it. I think they've got a run of games of Villa, Man United, Liverpool, Brighton. They've got some tough games of Forest. Don't get me wrong, so is everyone else. There's still 12 games to go. I might change my mind if they come to Ellen Road and beat us. But I do think it'll be them 3.
Do you still think we're drawing away to safety, Brownie? I know we ask every week.
Draw your way to safety. You can't draw our way to safety, unfortunately.
Apart from beating Forest and Palace at home, we'll draw our way to safety other than that.
Lowest point total for survival ever.
Yeah, finish on like 30 points.
I don't think it will be, though. I don't think it will, because a lot of the teams have got to play each other. So I do think that you do. I keep seeing this. 35 will be enough. I don't think it will, because everybody's got. Some teams have got to pick up the points. They're playing each. Everybody's got to play each other when you look at the fixtures left. So I do feel that we're on 23. I think we need another 5 wins.
It's crazy that, though, isn't it? It's like even
double our win total between now.
But when you look at 23, it's like at the minute you can literally just see. I mean, 20 if it gets to 36 or 37, it's like even at the minute it seems like a real task.
I'm really confident. At the start of April, when we've played Palace and Forest, if we haven't picked up, if we're not touching 30 points, then I'll be resigned to Plymouth away next year.
Oh God, I'm honestly trying to bottle it up and just not. I mean, I run a Leeds United fan channel, but I do try to bottle it up and not think. But I can't face it. I don't
know what other people's feelings towards this are, and it might just be me. I was really worried last year about going down and going back to the Championship, and it affected like my life, like sleep, always looking at the table, looking at fixtures, who's playing who, and I'm sure everybody was the same.
Do you remember those last few months when it was just like, if Everton lose here and if we win here, it's like
we're all the
totally
same.
at the table.
We're all the same. I just feel this year, and I don't know if it's just because I've had enough of it, but what will be. And that's where I am this year. Whatever happens.
We're off to Coventry.
Yeah, and that's where I am. Last year,
Brownie, you can't get zen now. No, like we can't let this happen. I mean,
I think we'll stay up. And I think we'll be fine.
Butter Brownie.
We've got a lot of winnable games. I just feel like whether it's Coventry away or Man United away, I'll still be there.
Yeah, but you don't want to be at Coventry away, do you? You don't want.
Droopy just said you're a broken man.
Of course not. But that's how I feel this year. It's just
Leeds have ground you down, Brownie.
With everything, it just It will kill me if we go down. Of course it will. It'll be gutting.
Yeah.
But I don't feel as heads up as last year.
Is that because you think that if we go down, I'm seeing a lot of this online, which is just hurting me reading it. Or are you thinking because if we go down, we're going to be still in an okay state in your brain or something like that?
Well, I think we will. I'll die on this hill. The teams that go down, you've got to be, and I mean, I know we are really badly managed.
This is Leeds, Brownie. This is Leeds.
You've got the amount of money you go down with now. You've got to be brain dead if you're not in that top 6 come the end of the next season. I mean, Burnley have absolutely romped it. They could get promoted at the weekend, by the way, Burnley, and we're in March.
I think they're about 27 points ahead of third place, aren't they?
If the results go their way, if the results go their way this weekend, they're promoted in March. That's how bad the Championship is.
I just think of Sunderland, though. Big club. Had some highs in the Premier League that we hadn't had that they hadn't had in for them to go down consecutive seasons. I don't think that would happen to us, but I mean, like, I have that fear etched in my mind. My whole mentality this year, I felt like the original Batman's Joker, just like laughing my way into insanity because it just.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's been that kind of year where it's just been that. But I mean,
look at Conor.
You said it, and people have said it. We've won the least amount of games in the Premier League. I feel the chase to get to the Premier League was better than actually being there.
No.
Brownie.
We can't let you do it. We can't let you turn into
Brownie.
That 16-year chase was
it's all worth it.
Go on. And now we're there. It's like, oh.
Yeah, I fancy heading back down to 16th for consecutive seasons. Get Tongi and Brownie back in. Has Warnock got a job yet?
Maybe if we had a better a forward-thinking board, we wouldn't be in this mess, and we'd be sort of like the next chase would be Europe. That's where we want to be. And then it might be a bit more enjoyable, but nobody's enjoyable winning 5 games out of 26. Nobody's enjoying that. And for that, you can have 10% added on. You can have an extra 10% next year for winning 5 games of football.
Can somebody screenshot earlier shows this season, like on how the two of you looked at the beginning of the season, going into the debrief? I know even when I joined the debrief, I felt like there's more of a vivaciousness to our vibe, and now it's just these tired-eyed people who have seen things shell-shocked.
I've done a Jesse Marsh. Jesse Marsh by the end of it just dead.
Gabe.
What's that?
Do you know why the tired eyes? Because I've travelled the country all year and I've seen us win 1 away from home.
Yeah, but you saw that banger at Accrington at 3.
That's where I'm at. I just think, and I'm sure a lot of Leeds fans feel this way,
I found a grey hair in my eyebrow the other day. What's all that about?
Conor, some of the days, like
insanity. It's just the definition. Following Leeds United is just insanity, and if it was boring, then it wouldn't be Leeds. That's where I'm at.
Conor, some of the match days we've had where I can tell what your state of mind is, because our chat will be blowing up. Like, it's minute 2. You're like, oh, horrible touch. You're just choosing violence on the day. And I also feel I'm sitting there like standing up for most of the match. It's so hard to watch. I think what I'm really just shocked about, like reflecting on the season, we started out with 2 wins and 3. Like, how did we get here?
I was getting the passport dusted down and everything. I was looking at Fair Cavos away. You know what I mean? Sampdoria away and honestly, Coventry away.
Oh, mate, I was in Greece and Leeds were playing Southampton. I just remember that first half, just absolutely playing Southampton off the park, going 2-0 up, Rodrigo double. And it all just seemed to, I don't know, it seemed to just go downhill for our season in that second half.
Yeah.
What will be, lads. We can't change it. We can't do out.
Conor, can I put a bet to you?
Go on.
I'll just see if you accept it. If we do get relegated, which I hope we don't. If we do get relegated, will you change the name of the channel to That So Leeds? I guess it's not a bet. I'm not really offering
I
anything.
think
I'm asking you if you'll do something.
I might just delete the channel, to be
I wonder,
honest.
do you know what? I do wonder. Like,
It's a joke, by the way, Christ.
We spoke about it in the show, the 35 million on Jorginho. Do you think he has a relegation release clause? Because
Absolutely, he has.
Surely.
But would it surprise you if he didn't?
Yeah.
What if he just wanted?
surprise
What
me,
if he just
honestly.
character building wanted to come to Barnsley away next year?
No, but like I think the board, you've heard it all year, impossible to go down. I think they've been that deluded to the situation we're in and that like oblivious to it.
We're just on the hook.
But I mean, we could have the best championship squad in the world.
Highest wage bill in the championship.
We actually do go ahead and sign McKennie.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Somehow wrangle it.
I will say this: McKennie and Adams would look amazing in the championship.
That's it. This is going to be it. Room mill. The room mill. This is going to be back in the summer, getting us linked to Alex Mowat again. I couldn't stand. I know we're having a bit of a laugh, but I just couldn't. I'd be devastated if Leeds went down.
Quince, dude, I hate to tell you, Adams won't stay if we get relegated. Adams loves Leeds, but he wouldn't stay.
I'm not saying I'd be doing the conga down the street, mate. I'm just saying it is what it is.
You're just happy. You're just happy because we've got more Yorkshire games. That's what it is.
Well, I don't know if you would because Sheffield United are coming up. Do you know what I mean? I just
Huddersfield are going down. Huddersfield are going down as well.
Brownie, have you seen that Twitter thread of like things seen at Ellen Road? There's like a pie that was like crusted against the wall that's been there for 2 years. Is that really what it's like?
It's like Chernobyl, mate. It's awful.
It is, Gabe.
Our season's been actually Chernobyl's the best description of our season, guys. It's the best description of our season. There's nothing wrong here. We're not in a relegation battle. The nuclear core is burning. Players are going down. Skin burns everywhere.
They need to renovate that stadium. Trust me.
The John Charles stand, that West Stand, hasn't changed since John Charles played for Leeds. It's atmospheric and a relic, and it's Leeds United, and I love it. But my God, it's still in 1970s.
But can they not clean it? Like, is it impossible to clean the stadium?
Well, you would think that with like a global pandemic or something like that hit, and like there was no fans in the ground for nearly a year, you'd think they'd have the chance to do that, but not at Leeds.
That's it. When everything's going up as well, it's them charging the fans the extra 10% on the season ticket. It's like, okay, I get it to an extent. Do I think it's right? No, but I get it. But at least make the facilities better. At least make hospitality better. At least just make it a decent standard, not just pies on the wall.
No, but on that, I think hospitality is up there. The hospitality at Leeds is...
Sorry, not hospitality, more just like the service at the ground.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I think that's the problem. Like,
bees on toast for £6.
Is really good. But your average Jimmy in the street who's paying his £42 a game is literally paying for that. He's not paying for anything else. No, there is nothing. Like, it is pretty bleak, Gabe, there, yeah. It is
great.
Pretty run down. It needs a lick of paint. It needs everything.
Lord.
I think it's like Goodison, isn't it? I think Ellen Road and Goodison are very similar. And I think the thing, obviously, with Goodison, they're moving, aren't they, to Bramley Moor, which is on their dock, the docks at Liverpool. So I think
in a weird way, I prefer grounds like that. I prefer the nostalgia. I prefer the proper grounds. And listen, we're in 2023 now, and you've got state-of-the-art stadiums like Tottenham Hotspur and that, but
it's not a stadium, is it? It's a spaceship.
Give me a battered old Ellen Road any day.
It's like that pie on the wall tastes fantastic. I try it every time I go in.
Scraping it off next week. Right, everyone, we have been waffling for an hour and 40 minutes. There is your One Leeds content for the weekend. Really appreciate you clocking in with us. We're going to leave it there. Lads, thank you so much for joining. Make sure you're checking out the content. Please leave us a like before you leave. It's free, everyone. There's been 1,200 of you in the building max today. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Debrief. Until then, we will see you in a bit. Cheers.
Staying up.